Hello fellow 3D enthusiast, my name is Ian and I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to go over how I created this scene in Blender, this kind of tropical looking island and the ocean and the clouds and all that. This is supposed to be a shot for a short film I'm working on, and it's kind of going to be from a little bit far away like this, so it doesn't have to be super detailed up close, but it doesn't look terrible up close. So a quick little bit of background first. This is going to be for my Bionicle short film remake thingy. The island that I was creating actually had to be fairly specific. It wasn't just some island. So I kind of stumbled on gold when I found the blog of Christian Faber. And this guy, from what I understand, was the lead concept artist on Bionicle. Anyways, here I found some really amazing photos that actually helped me reconstruct the island quite a bit. Okay, so I'd say that's enough chattering for now. Let's just jump into it and I'll show you how I created this. So I'm going to start out from the default scene. This might take a second, and it also might not look quite as good as the other scene just because I'm spending quite a bit less time on it, but that's alright. Let's go ahead and start out. I'm going to start out by using the add-on images as planes, which you can find in preferences, and it's import images. There it is. Just check that box and you should have it. If we go to File, then Import Images as Planes, you'll find it there. And I'm going to go to my folder that has, this guy actually provided a download for all of the original concept art. So that's actually really huge and amazing and helpful. I'm going to start out, there is actually a displacement map there. So I'm going to start out by importing that. And I'm going to go into Rendered View. Let's just rotate this a little bit on the correct axis, Y, looks like. And I'm just going to check my normals real quick, make sure that that's actually facing up. It is. Now from here, the way I want this to actually look like an island in 3D space is I want to make it so that this white part is the highest part of the plane and then this black part is the lowest part. So I'm going to go into Edit Mode, right click and subdivide the plane a few times. That should be a good start. And then I'm also going to go into modifiers and just plop on a subdivision surface and make that simple. Now we've got lots of resolution to work with. We're probably going to crank it up even more in a second here, but let's just start with this for now. And we can go modifiers, displacement modifier, and it goes up here. That's all right. If we go new texture, go into the properties for that, and then just select our displacement image, you can see it starts to get really funky up in here. If we go back into the modifiers and then turn down the strength, things start to get a little bit more under control. And fairly quickly you can see that this is not lining up correctly. So if we just go from local to UV, things will start to get a little bit more under control. Now this is still pretty choppy at the moment. If we go shade smooth, that helps a little, but we still got lots of crazy artifacts going on. So I'm just going to crank up the viewport and render. Let's just take a look here and just see what'll work. I'd say actually somewhere around 3 is probably good for the render, and just so that things aren't quite so choppy, I'm going to turn the viewport down to 2 again. But this is a pretty good approximation of what it's going to look like in the end. Let's go back into edit mode real quick and material preview, and I'm just going to go into the top view with 7 on my number pad and deselect Alt A and circle select with C. So with this we can scroll up and that will change the influence of the selection. And I'm just going to kind of draw around the island here. And I'm just going to delete everything that we don't need. So leave a good little space between the actual island and what you're selecting, just so we don't delete anything that we need. There we go. So we can save all this information and just keep the high resolution detail where we need it. I'm going to go face mode. Let's go face mode. And then X faces. Boom. There we go. So now we just have this island. And that's pretty good. So you can see here it's still looking kind of crazy in rendered view. It's all over the place. Not sure what's up with that. Let's go materials and then go show backface. There we go. That fixes the problem. Cool. Now this is just black and white at the moment. Let's fix this by going into shading and we don't need this at the moment, so let's just hit Control and then right click and drag a line through those. If we zoom in here, period on the number pad, we can actually see what we're working with. And we really don't need these windows, they're just kind of getting in the way. I'm going to duplicate this real quick with Shift D and then find the color map, which is really amazing. We have a color map and a displacement map in these files. So I'm just going to drop color into base color. There we go. Now you can see with the mountain, things don't line up perfectly. I think there's just a little bit of a change in the image. We can go into UV editing if we want and use proportional editing to straighten that out, but I'm just going to keep on trucking here and just get this working out before we do anything fancy. So here's the island. Let's just go a little bit into detail with the material. I'm going to go color and just drop this into, let's go drop it into the normal. And I'm going to go vector and just give that a bit of a bump node. I'm going to drop this normal actually into height and we get crazy bumps. That's interesting. Let's turn down the strength a little bit for that. And it's kind of up to personal preference how much crazy bumpness you want. I don't know, somewhere around there probably looks good. It's going to be from back here. So we kind of want some detail, but we don't want too much detail, which, yeah, that's too much. I think around there looks alright. And you can mess with the roughness if you want. You can use the displacement to mess with that, or whatever you like. Usually adding some, well, yeah, that seems to work out alright. Just adding a little bit of variation in there really helps out to make it not look so plasticky. Alright, so we've got the island pretty much finished at the moment. Let's add in the ocean. And you can see water levels just rose quite a bit there. That's alright. Just grab the island, drag it up through. And that's looking pretty good for the depth of the island. There's still a little bit of water showing through, but that's okay. You won't really notice that in the final render. And let's just scale up our ocean a little bit here and give it a new material. Hey, full screen, let's do that. Nice. Alright, so now what we're going to do is make this blue. Actually, we don't need to use that. Let's go converter and color ramp and then make that blue. So on the left side here, we're just going to kind of want a deep, darkish blue. And on the right side, I'm going to go closer to kind of an aqua look. And eventually we're going to paint a mask that makes it so that closer to the island, you get this kind of aqua looking thing. And then farther out to sea, you just get this deep blue. And we can adjust this color ramp further on, but let's just go bloop, drop that into color for now. Another thing I'd like to do with the output is just kind of move it down here. And let's go add a displacement map because oceans have waves and stuff. But first, let's just turn down the roughness because they're also smooth. And you can see at the moment, this really isn't reflecting very much. And I don't know if it will if we do this, but let's just turn on screen space reflection real quick. Get that working. And in the properties, we can go also screen space reflection. Still nothing yet, but we'll get that in a second when we add in the sky. So for the displacement map, let's go like this and add in a new texture. So for my image texture for the ocean, I actually have an image sequence, which I baked out with the ocean modifier. And I don't really remember how I did that. I was following a tutorial a bit ago and just baked this out with that. The ocean modifier is really cool, and I will definitely make sure I link that tutorial in the description. But now we have this image sequence here, which we can plug right into the displacement. And let's add a few nodes on top of that. Vector displacement is probably something we'd want. As well as I've been told I think it's the green and the blue channels are flipped with that image sequence there. So I'm just going to go converter, separate RGB, where is it? There we go. And then just combine RGB, well, that's not right. Combine RGB, there we go. And we'll just put the green and the blue and the green, and not a whole lot changes, but let's just do that anyways. So we got this crazy ocean looking thing going on. That's a good start. For the coordinates, I'm just going to hit Control T. If you have Node Wrangler, that is a lot easier. You can just go like, yeah, Node Wrangler. Check that little box. There you go. That makes working with nodes so much faster. So from here, I'm just going to go object, drop that in there, and then with the ocean we can turn up the scale if we need to. I'm just dragging my mouse along these values and going like that. We don't want it too scaled down because that will start tiling, and tiling is not nice looking. Speaking of not nice looking, this is way too much sauce at the moment, so let's turn the scale down. I'm gonna go something like that. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's go even one more 0. Okay, that's too little. Okay, so 0.005. You can see it, but it's not too in your face. And also, yeah, that'll work all right. It's a good medium between like too big looking and too tiled looking. All right, so at this moment we have a problem, which is that our sky is crappy looking. And to solve that problem, I bought an add-on a while ago called Physical Atmosphere and Starlight, something like that. There's a tab down here, and we can just check that, or I can just check that. And once I check it, we got this crazy procedural sky, which is super useful. I understand if you're not into buying things, because Blender is free, and yeah, free is cool, right? So you can probably just find a free HDR on HDRI-, and that'll probably do just as well. But the really cool thing about this add-on is I can change it like crazy. I mean, this add-on is just crazy, man. I can change the size of the sun and the intensity and all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm not here to fiddle about or talk about this add-on though. Just kind of need something quick, which is what it excels at, which is, yeah, that's great. So I'm going to scale up the ocean a little bit, just make sure that's out of the way. And I'm not really digging the color of this at the moment. So let's fix that. So for the color, I'm just going to add a texture, image texture, and let's make a new one. So new, and water, line. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a water line. Okay, so we probably want a lot of resolution on this because our ocean is kind of huge at the moment. So I'm going to go Shift 8 and get that little star thing and go 2, and that will just multiply 1024 by 2. Boom. And then let's do that again to the Y value, or X, or whatever the heck it is. 2. Boom. Okay, so we have a big texture here. I'm going to hit OK, and that will create a new texture. And I'm also going to take my color and put that in the factor. So let's go to Texture Paint real quick and see how much we can mess this up. Hey, that's not bad. Alright, so I'm going to go into Top View, and let's go over here and just turn off... Holy cow. Yeah, specular lighting. That was being a pain. Alright, let's turn off specular lighting. I've hit 7 on my number pad to look at it from the top view, and you can use, 4 and 6 to rotate around if you like. But I'm just going to zoom in here, untoggle my overlays, and what we want is a big and soft brush. So I'm going to go like that. And I've got a tablet that I'm using here at the moment, but you can use a mouse if you feel like that's something you want to do. And I'm just going to draw in a super soft outline around the island. This is going to kind of tell Blender, okay, we're starting to get a little bit less deep in the water here. And just kind of make a nice gradient up to the island. I'm doing this super quickly. I put in a lot of time on my final render. But once you get that set, you can even turn it down a bit more. Turn up the strength a bit more if you like. And go like this and get the shoreline really nicely detailed. Like I mentioned, I'm not really spending a lot of time on this at the second. The really cool thing about a tablet though is you get the pressure sensitivity, so that gives you a lot of nice control. Okay, we've got kind of a gradient thingy going on. Nice. I'm just going to leave it at this for the moment because I don't want to take up too much time, but just know that the more time you spend on this, the better it'll look. Let's go back to shading, and now you can see our waterline texture is influencing the color of our water, which is pretty cool. And you can adjust the water however you like it for colors. I'm just going to crank this up a little bit in the color ramp, and that's looking not bad. What is looking bad is the displacement. That's still crazy. I'm going to turn that back to my 0.001 that I started with, and hey, we got something kind of nice. Looks like the sun is coming from this direction, which is casting some kind of weird shadows. So what I'm going to do with the lamp up here, well, let's get rid of our point lamp and get this lamp. And I'm just going to go shadow map and turn down the distribution. I don't know, I kind of found that makes things a little bit softer looking, which is interesting. Now, if we look at the sun here, this is really shining all over our bump map. So I'm going to turn down the strength of that quite a bit, make it look a little bit less crazy. And just find somewhere where you think it looks good, because that's what it's all about. All right. If we scale this up, oh, okay, that messes up that thing. Don't scale that up. Don't mess up that thing. If we extrude it, though, oh, look at that. I'm just going to extrude this real quick so we can get some nice boundaries. And this is not nice at the moment, but I'm going to delete that extra face. Look at that. Okay, so we have a big ocean now. That's nice. Okay, so you might be thinking at the moment, this looks like crap, and it kind of does, but we can fix that by completely obscuring it in clouds, which just make things look so much better when you can't see them. So let's go import images as planes once more, and I've got a handy texture for this. Let's go into textures. I just rendered out some clouds with alpha backgrounds. And I'm going to rotate this so it is correct. Let's go like that, grab it, and just move it up here. And that also looks like crap, so let's go scale on the X. And one thing we can work with this is we can go, let's see, our alpha is going into here, so I'm going to go converter, and you guessed it, another color ramp. And we can make these less see-through by, I think you can, no, other one. Turning this value down. Boom. It's a lot more subtle now, which is great, because subtleness is, yeah. Sometimes you really need a lot of subtleness. Sometimes things are too subtle. And this is super shiny. It looks like it just got poured on concrete or something like that. So I'm going to get this out of here. Need a little bit more roughness. I don't know if we could put like a noise texture in there or something. Just get some good variation on the roughness of the island. If you look at the noise texture, we can just make that go up a lot. Hey, I mean that's kind of crazy. But we could put that in a color ramp too, because color ramps just fix everything. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of variables that take a lot of time to dial in, but let's just get the basics down here. I'm going to put some low-level clouds down here near the island, and then I'm going to do some high-level clouds as well. Let's hop over to our layout tab just so we have more space to work with. And let's hop back to shading, because this cloud is just, it's too see-through. I don't know what I was thinking putting that in there. Ooh, look at the stars. Yo, there's stars. That's cool. Okay. Gotta focus here. So I'm going to scale these clouds down a little bit here, and I'm also going to hit M and move them to their own collection. Because when you get a whole bunch of planes in the way, things can look kind of terrible in this view. So I'm just going to duplicate this, and we can scale it around and rotate it around to just get a little bit of randomness. And then duplicate them both and do the same. Something like this. If you look at the island, it's a little bit hard to see, but I'm guessing there's not going to be quite as many clouds over this, like, dusty area. And there might be a little bit more for the rainforest area, so we can just do that. And I'm going to put my 3D cursor here with shift right click, and I'm going to go rotate around 3D cursor. That was the period I just used, by the way, to open that pie menu. And I'm going to grab this and move it around over the rainforest. And, you know, just kind of distribute these around. There we go. So we got some low-level clouds. If you want, you can like subdivide these in edit mode and just use proportional editing, O, and vertice select, and vertex select, pardon me, don't at me. And then just kind of bend them around like actual clouds if you want. Cool. So we got these clouds here. Let's go a little bit more high level and just add a big layer of clouds up high. So I'm going to grab that and move it up on the Z and scale it up nice and big. Okay, cool. So usually there's, I don't know how clouds work. It's been a hot second since science class, but I'm guessing there's like a layer way up high and a layer closer to the ground. And of course that can change all the time, but what the heck. This camera is really far away, so I'm going to grab that and scooch it in a little bit here. And we got our high layer of clouds, which we can duplicate and rotate, get some nice variation on that. And if you wanted to animate this bad boy, you could just kind of grab these clouds and go like this, which looks fairly nice in animation. And you know, this is pretty much the scene. In my other scene, it looks a little bit different just because I've spent a lot of time dialing it in. You can see there's a lot more detail on the waterline. But, oh wait, there's one thing. Let's do the volcano real quick. So for the volcano, I have another texture that I've pre-prepared, and this is going to be a smoke simulation texture. Let's just hide the clouds for a second here. Put our 3D cursor right there in the volcano, and go, you guessed it, import images as planes. And I'm going to go to my looping Steam file. Of course, there is a tutorial on this, which I will probably link here. And you don't want to hit A and import them all like I just almost did. This tutorial has been going on for a long time. Alright, so this guy here, we're just going to get the first one. Import images as planes. Let's look at rendered. That is huge. So I'm going to scale that down. And you probably want to set this up depending on where your camera is, so it doesn't look so flat. But I'm just going to go like this. And I'm going to grab it on the Z. And pow, look at all that black smoke. That's nice. Looks just like the thing that would come out of a volcano. And I'm just going to grab it and move it to where it needs to go there. Cool. So from back here, you can kind of see that working. That's cool. Another thing, let's just go into our shading and say we did want an animation of this. That was an image sequence, so let's go image sequence and turn up the frames. I can't remember how many, like 140. And then cyclic if your smoke is looping and your animation is longer than 140. And now when we scroll, you can see it's poofing. Haha, we have the poofing smoke. And also, our sea is animated, I think. Is it? Yeah, it's animated. Yeah, so our ocean is moving, and our smoke is moving, and we got clouds, and we got a shoreline, and that's pretty much all the components here. Like I said, it's not perfect. I did it in however much time this is, but that is pretty much it. So if you found this helpful, and you're interested in seeing more tutorials like it, there's a link in the description that says free hydraulic kit bash elements, and that will actually sign you up for my email list. I'll make sure the first thing I send you are some free hydraulic kit bash elements for Blender. I've just designed those so that you can get kind of a jump start when you're working on mechanical stuff. I use them a lot when I'm making mechs, and so I hope that helps you out a bit there. And then whenever I create a new tutorial, I just email out to that list and let them know. So that's what you can expect if you're interested in that. And that's pretty much it. So until later, cheers. Oh boy.